In the case of Turkey, as several colleagues have already mentioned, we have been indeed enacting, allowing, we are complicit in refoulement in many ways. And I'm not even going to the origin of that agreement. And I'm sorry to say, but from what I hear from the colleagues who have been in the steering committee, supposedly scrutinizing the implementation of the Turkey agreement, that is absolutely perfunctory and not satisfactory at all. That scrutiny that has been taking place, namely by the colleagues who have been there, namely by Kati Piri, our rapporteur for Turkey. What concerns Libya, sorry, but I mean, I see here that, according to the report, the EU is very happy to support the 2 Libyan coast guards. Sorry, there is none. There are militia called coast guards. 2, 3, or many how governments you have, or pseudo-governments. So we are fooling ourselves. If that is so, my question would be, why hasn't we worked with the 2 or 3 governments that are in place in Libya, none of them governing, to indeed ensure that they agree to a legal presence of UNHCR in Libya? There is none. I mean, it's not legal. There is some, but not able to really operate. Things have not improved compared to 2012 and 2013, when I was regularly visiting Libya. On the contrary. So we are fooling ourselves. If we say here that we are supporting 2 Libyan coast guards, there are no Libyan coast guards. There are militia. And that means putting our taxpayers' money in the hands of militia. That's the way the operation is done, to indeed outsource our responsibilities. And indeed, when we talk about fighting the effects of crime, I mean, who are we fooling? Our citizens? And we are indeed giving the taxpayers' money to the criminals who operate the networks, who smuggle people. That's what it is. Because, as it has been pointed out by Antonio Guterres, even in his previous position as High Commissioner for Refugees, indeed, who's been managing the flows of people are the networks, the smugglers. As long as we don't have meaningful, safe and legal ways to indeed control the movement of migrants and refugees, we are handing the business to the networks, to the smugglers' networks. That's what is happening. And that is what is happening now with European taxpayers' money. That's what needs to be said. That's the reality. And so my question is, where is the Council? The Parliament did its job regarding the review of Dublin, which ought to provide for a proper system for asylum. But where is the Council on that? It's not the Council, the Parliament that is delaying anything on that, so that we would indeed have safe and legal ways, at least for refugees, and not to mention, of course, migrants. So Libya, in the case of Libya, I mean, one of the representatives mentioned detention centers. Yes, what we have in Libya, it's not even what we call euphemistically hotspots in the EU. It's detention centers. It's actually torture centers. Torture centers is what we are indeed relying on in Libya. And Khartoum, I just would like to recall Sakharov laureate 2007, Salim Mahmoud Osman, who just went to jail back in his home country, Sudan, after coming here to the European Parliament to warn us against handling money to the Omar Bashir ICC-indicted regime under the grounds of the so-called Khartoum process, so that they would help us manage migration. I mean, it's another joke of very bad taste, in my opinion, to continue with that. And Afghanistan, talk about managing safe returns to Afghanistan. Come on, come on. There are no safe returns to Afghanistan. Afghanistan is not a safe country at all. We were, Afet was just recently in Iran, and the Iranians being on the front line dealing with Afghan refugees, asylum seekers, and Iranians being the first to actually recognize that the situation in Afghanistan has just deteriorated. So pretending that we are handling safe returns to Afghanistan, it's the maximum of hypocrisy. So it's really unbearable.